Please, yes, please keep your cameras off. So now officially welcome again to the last and final webinar run by the CORTEX2 XR Consortium to support you with the knowledge to draft a successful application to the OpenCore1. This specific webinar will be decoding the OpenCore1 topics and also the domains for the track 2. My name is Eva Stefanik. I am the Innovation Funding Maestra from F6S, and it will be my pleasure to really host this webinar today for you. So this is what we have prepared for this webinar. So we will just go through the opening and a few remarks. Then we're gonna start the section for the co-development tracks, when we're gonna go one by one. For each of the 10 topics, we have the speakers, experts of each of the topics. So we will be giving you, a bit more information, how you can really build your presentation to apply to each to one of those topics. And then we're gonna move on to the next section that will be dedicated to the use case track. And here we will be covering, the expected outcomes, the description of each of the domains. And as usual in our webinars, we have secured the time for the Q&A session at the end. So just these few remarks, in case you have missed our webinar 1 or webinar 2, they are now available on our website, also on our social media. Please keep in mind that we will not be covering anything that has been already covered in those 2 webinars. So today it will be a new content based, of course, on the information that you can find in the guidelines for applicants. And this is a follow-up on some of your questions coming in the previous webinar. So there was an update on the documentation, on the technical documentation specifically, that we talked in the previous webinar. So now when you're gonna go to our page of the OpenCore, you can scan it. There is this this box where you can download the guidelines for applicants and other OpenCore1 documents. And now when you're gonna download it, it will come, with this whole package. And the additional document now that is available is also the deliverable 2.1. It's a draft of the report that will give you the technical insights of the CORTEX2 that you have requested. So the final note is that, as mentioned, this webinar will be also recorded and will be soon available on our social channels and the website. And for those of you that haven't participated in the previous webinar, we are collecting your questions through the chat box. There is this Q&A chat, and you are free to post the questions there. Our team will be trying to answer them along the way, but if that's not going to happen, we will be covering them at the end in the Q&A session. Now this is my absolutely big pleasure to welcome all the speakers that's going to be participating today in this webinar. So we have, partners from CORTEX2 XR Consortium from the 5 companies. We have a team from the IFKI, Alan Pagani, the project coordinator of CORTEX2 XR, and Narek Minaskan, the research engineer. We have a team from the Alcatel-Lucent. So we have Emmanuel Halbert, the manager innovation, and Sylviane Rivière from the business development. We have our colleague Yazid Benazon, a research engineer from Linagora. From Intracom Telecom, we have Mariewi Ksezonaki, a research engineer. And finally, we have Lydia Szymendera, the project manager from Actimage. And of course, all of the speakers are partners, active partners of the CORTEX2 XR Consortium. And last, we are our host, F6S, will be supported today with my dear colleague, Alice Tereva, that will be running for you also the Q&A session. So just before we start, one information, how the content will be presented to you for each of the topic. So we will be covering the challenge and requirements for the topics, what is the expected outcome. Some of the topics will have additional specific support that is available for the applicants. And then we will be covering the set of deliverables. And please keep in mind that for all of the topics, there is a common support available and the resources coming from the Cortex Square, and those are the following. So you will have access to the technology, meaning the documentation and any specific access to whatever the topic requires. There will be support during the integration processes, so will be provided the integration guidelines and technical support to to successfully achieve this phase. And there will be also along the process throughout the whole duration of the program. So this is in case for the co-development track 9 months and 12 months for the use cases track. There will always be a mentor that which we identify as an assigned contact person, which is an expert of the selected topic from the Cortex Square that will be supporting you along the way. And I believe that were the final notes from my side, and we can start. And I would like to invite the first speaker Narek, to take over the topic one.
Thank you. Thank you, Eli, for the introduction. I'm sorry, Eva. Yes. So today, I'm Narek Binaskan. I'm from DFK, and I'm working on Cortex as a research engineer. Today, I will be representing topics 1 and 2, starting with topic 1, user representation and avatar customization. The idea comes from basically in our work, when we're working on the modules on Cortex, we are always using very basic elements for interaction in our demos. So we do not spend time in developing, let's say, avatars with very nice animations or customizability options in our work. And that is the idea of the first topic, to create such a module that is going to be integrated in Cortex that lets the users to customize and create avatars however they like. By that, I mean this can be either done in 2D or in 3D. So you can imagine you have 3D avatars with very nice animations, with very nice representation. That lets the user, this module also lets the user to customize them and save them for further reuse, let's say in next sessions in their line of work. For what we have in mind, as in measurables, that would be the next slide.
Was this
yes,
video.
there was this video. Thank you. What we have in mind as measurables, KPIs, is this module should allow the users to create and customize their avatars in less than 10 minutes. This tool should let the users to edit at least 5 attributes. And by attributes, you can imagine, for example, accessories, wearing glasses, for example, a watch, or changing hair color, hairstyle, and so. And the edited image, the representation should be as realistic to the appearance of the user as they see fit, basically. And then at the end, what will happen is this module will be integrated into Cortex. And whenever, for example, someone wants to develop an application with Cortex framework, or when we want to use our pilots, then we will have access to this tool to create new users. Next slide. And for the topics, we always have deliverables in mind. That is, we will check on the progress of the work. So what we have in mind, as in the first deliverable, as in the first sprint, at the end, we would like to see a proof of concept and a development plan, as in a minimum editing tool that lets you tweak a few attributes, and then how it's going to be developed further. In the second sprint, what we would like to see is a demonstration of an editing tool that has some kind of connectivity to Cortex framework. And then at the end, what we would like to see is the demonstrator fully integrated into Cortex, and a validation report, basically the KPIs that we mentioned earlier. Next slide, please. And now this brings us into the second topic, real-time object virtualizer. Yes, in VR and AR environments, it's always important to have virtual objects to interact with, especially in Cortex, that is about collaboration. So this is also another aspect that we have, let's say, limited resources because we always scan models, pre-scan models, and then we've worked with them for extended periods of time. But the idea here would be that have such a module that allow the users to reconstruct an object at basically a 3D model in a fast manner that is live, and then lets it to be used and reused in the current session and in the future sessions. Now, what this means that in terms of measurables is the reconstruction should be fast, that is usable in the current session, and we are aiming for something below 30 minutes, ideally using as few resources, that is images, as possible, as much as possible. That is 5 to 6. And then the next would be to have a kind of demo that showcases 3 reconstructions, successful reconstructions of small objects. And then we would like to see the support of basically two ways of reconstruction, either with video sequences or a set of images that is 30 to 50 single images. And then at the end, this module will be integrated into the Cortex framework and then can be used in live sessions for reconstruction. Next slide, please. And again, as deliverables, what we have in mind is for the first sprint, a module analysis and integration plan. Basically, we would like to see how this kind of module is foreseen from your perspective, and then how you see how you see the integration done into the Cortex. For the second sprint, basically, we would like to see a minimum demo that shows you the core functionalities of the reconstruction, basically this module, the virtualizer, and then at the end, the final a module integrated into the Cortex, and then, as we said, measured with the KPIs in mind. This would be, I believe, the last slide, my side. Eva?
Yes, exactly. Thank you so much, Narek. Now we'll continue with topic number 3, and that will be presented by Lydia.
Yeah. Hello, my name is Lydia Schemender. I'm a project manager by Actimage GmbH in Germany. I will present you our third topic. Next slide, please. Our third topic is a VR challenge, dealing with fast geometry analysis for hand gesture reconstruction and interaction with objects. As you may know, VR enables single or multiplayer training scenarios in CORTEX2 XR while referring to physical objects, such as industrial equipments. Collaboration between users during training session reinforces the impact of learning by reproducing gestures and processes. The focus should be made on interoperability between several people on an object, which can be human or not human. Hand tracking and movement analysis are necessary to reproduce the correct or perfect hand gesture. So for this challenge, we would propose you to use Unity C# and Unity 3D, so as maybe AI. Next slide. The expected outcome is a correct hand gesture recognition and reproduction with greater precision, so as maybe the possibility to manipulate objects in a collaborative way. We will rely for this on 3 KPIs. First, a minimum of 80 FPS for high-level precision and fluidity of movement. Then a high fidelity rendering, so that movements can be reproduced as close as possible to reality. And finally, the last KPIs is about ease of integration via Unity package and no bound to any hardware. Next slide. We will help you for this challenge to connect to Rainbow through Unity. We will give you also Unity documentation. We will give you access to GitLab, to Git architecture, and also to some VR project archives. If needed, we can also provide you training on our scenarization logic. Next slide. The deliverables are following 3 sprints of 3 months each other. Sprint 1 is about development of a first module, showcasing object interaction on single mode and also on simple VR hand movements and interactions. Sprint 2 is about integration of a second demonstrator module, showcasing this time complex, fast, and precise hand movements and interaction between several users. It will be more a collaborative demonstrator, and this should be integrated on CORTEX2 framework through Unity. The last sprint, sprint 3, is about validation of a final demonstrator of the Unity package, of the Git with all source code, and of tests of precision limits of available headsets.
I believe, Lydia, that was the end of your topic. So thank you so much.
Yes.
We will continue with topic number 4, and that will be presented by Marievi.
Hello, hi everyone. I'm Maria Krzyżanaki from Introcom Telecom, and I'm going to present the 4th topic, which concerns the IoT adaptability of the Cortex framework that we're developing. Okay, so as an overview, I'm going to say that Cortex integrates IoT data from various IoT devices of different protocols into video conferencing XR applications in order to provide a more immersive XR experience to the users. So the challenge here is to examine the IoT adaptability of the framework and to extend the supported IoT device types. So to achieve this, we are thinking about the integration and testing of new IoT devices, domain-specific, and following different IoT protocols. In order to achieve this, the technical requirements that we can pose to a new applicant is in order to integrate the new IoT devices to the Cortex framework is the development of IoT adapters for the respective protocol supported by these IoT devices in order to be compatible with a set of unified REST interfaces that we're going to offer from Cortex. So software development and IoT expertise are required, as well as knowledge of the REST communication standards. And also the solution that is going to be developed by the applicant should be open source, either as a part of the Cortex repository or as a library or a service. Now, the expected outcome is a set of new IoT devices of different domains and protocols, together with the respective set of IoT adapters that are going to enable the integration of the devices with the Cortex framework. And as KPIs, we have said that we would need at least 5 different IoT device types and respective protocols and adapters. Also, each IoT device should be accessible by one meeting room and its users at least. And finally, each IoT device should produce and upload measurements in intervals up to 1 minute or less, depending on the nature of the pilot. So the deliverables that we are going to show in the next slide are the first phase. The first phase deliverable is the definition of the architecture and the development of the adapters that will be required to integrate the IoT devices into Cortex. Then the second deliverable will be the integrated prototype, meaning the new modules that are going to be developed integrated with the modules developed within Cortex. And finally, the last deliverable will be a detailed report on the experimentation phase and the evaluation results that are going to be produced. I think that's it for topic 4.
Excellent, Marievi. Thank you so much.
Thank
and
you
now
too.
we will continue with Alan.
Yes, hello everyone. I'm Alain Pagani from DFK. I'm the project coordinator, and I will present you the topic number 5, which is a dynamic library of personalized gestures. So why are we seeking for that? You probably know that the aim of the Cortex project is to favor or to facilitate cooperation between distant persons using VR and AR. And in cooperation, it's very important to also understand what people are doing. So that's why we are interested in analysis of different gestures. Here you see an example in this picture of possible gesture that a user can do in AR or VR. We are developing the recognition of hand pose and body pose within the project. But something that we would like to see, and this is the aim of this topic, is a possibility of creating an entire library of gestures, which can be different hand pose. It can be also dynamic, so you can actually define a gesture as a succession of hand poses. And what we would like to have is a module where users can actually define certain gestures that will have a meaning in the application. They can record it and they can store a kind of model of it so that whenever a user is making the gesture during the application, something will happen. So, and that should be reusable. So if an application developer wants to create a set of gestures for a specific application, then this can be stored and it can be exchanged also with other applications. What we would like to have is a possibility to learn easily new gestures. So really by just showing it. Maybe an important part is that the topic does not include the recognition of the hand pose. So this is something that we will do. And what you can use as an input is either what will be produced in CORTEX2 which is the module that we develop, or you can also use hand poses that are given by hardware, by VR headsets or AR headsets. The important thing here is to have the library. Next slide, please. So what we will measure is actually different KPIs. So the first one is that we want to be able to register a certain number of gestures. Here we have defined a minimum of the 10 different gestures. What you need also to do is to demonstrate that it can be used in one scenario that we apply in CORTEX2. And this is the last KPI. We want it to be easy to use, so there is no specific measure, but the aim is that it could be easy to create new gestures within an application or at the time of the development of the application. The result is actually a module that we will integrate to the solution and that will allow for reuse existing gestures. Next slide, please. Yes, in terms of deliverables, so we have the 3 phases as in any other topic. In the first sprint, we want you to give us your plan for developing this library. This will come at month 3 with an analysis of what you will do. At month 6, we would like to see what we call a MVP, minimum viable product. So it's just a minimum demo showing that what will be the main functionalities. And then the final product or the final result will be the entire module at month 9, and we want also to see documentation of the software.
Thank you, Alan. We will now move and continue with topic number 6 that will be presented by Sylvain.
Hello, I'm Sylvain Rivier from Alcatel Enterprise, acting as project coordinator for AILI for Cortex. So the topic 6 is about 3D objects library. So the challenge is how to make CORTEX2 application more unique. To do that, we want to have the capability to provide an astonished look and feel on an easy way to develop for the new application on top of the CORTEX2 framework, with providing a useful graphical objects library composed of 2D and 3D objects, simple to implement in scenarios which could be similar to the one we developed with our 3 pilots. We are talking about 2D and 3D scene samples, so it could be virtual room. We want oriented maybe oriented for escalation or crisis management room. This different, let's say, meeting rooms should implement also screening and whiteboarding. The 3D object library also contains some basic objects like table, chairs, tools, and we want also to have a simple way to display IoT measurements in 2D or 3D. The library will have to come in the form of Unity assets, but it has also to be compliant with WebXR. The Cortex graphical charter must be respected. This is a wish, but we will be flexible on this. So moving to the outcome and relevant KPIs. So the first KPI is to have a minimum of 2 Unity design packages, meaning having a clearly defined set of objects that can be imported and assembled within a Unity scene. So KPI number 2 is providing 2 samples of usage. So having a sample of integration for Unity and also for WebXR. And the third one is about having up to 3 3D virtual rooms, including the furnitures, and compliant with Unity on its object manipulation. So as you may understand, we want to use standard for 3D objects. And for instance, by talking about IoT data, we want to have simple objects for easing the display of measurement coming from those IoTs. Now, then we can present the deliverables. So for the sprint number 1, related to the development, we need to have a design and the specification of what will be developed and what will be the design of the object library. For this, we propose to have an exchange with a mentor to validate the look and feel, which will be targeted. For the sprint number 2, it's about providing the first Unity 2D and 3D asset and package. And this has to be demonstrated with the first minimum valuable project, so first demo. And for the sprint number 3, related to validation, we want to have a Unity sample code integrating those packages, so showing the final MVP. And we also want to have some test validation and feedback from real users. So to conclude, what we want to achieve with this topic is to make CORTEX2 application more appealing. So first, by extending the object library of CORTEX2 with a métier focus, and to provide various design with CORTEX2 currency to ease the way to develop a CORTEX2 application. So it also helps us to prepare CORTEX2 to be used in different contexts with the right set of 3D objects in order to attract new developers and to facilitate their life to create 3D scene and integrate 3D objects. That's it from my side.
Thank you so much, Sylvian. And now we will welcome Yazid to present topic number 7.
Hello, everyone. This is Yazid from Lenagora. This topic is about autonomic note-taking in virtual video conference. The main idea here is how to summarize meeting, taking some notes autonomously in the XR video conference. In Cortex, we have different use case, for example, a business meeting or a training session where someone is learning how to use an industrial engine. And then the difficulties is how to extract or detect interesting elements in the discussion and to produce well-formatted summary. For that, we have defined different KPIs. Next slide. The quality, the language, and the performance. For the quality, we have defined one metric that goes further than 50% between the generated notes and the reference. And the language and the performance, it depends on the approach you will take to produce the solution. For example, if your approach is more generic enough to support multiple language, so it could be, but at least we have defined English as a mandatory, so you can keep just one language and work on English only. For the performance, it depends also on your approach. For example, you can say that I will take the notes from the expert, which is a participant in the training session, or you want to take notes from all the participants. So it depends. But for our KPI, it is recommended to consider at least 5 participants in the conference. And then you have at the end to produce these notes in a well formatted document. Yeah, the next slide. And we have already an expert group in language modeling and speech recognition, so you can interact with us to define the approach. We can exchange information about that. And also we can help you in the dataset prediction if you want to use some language models like ChatGPT and so on. For the deliverables, you have to produce 3, and the first one is note-taking approach. So here you define your dataset, you produce your dataset, the identification of the models that you will use, and then well-defined approach. The approach can be real-time or deferred time. In real time, you can use some kind of keywords, what we call keywords, to detect the notes. And for the deliverable 2, you have to provide the implementation and the source code, and then an evaluation, the third deliverable in some use cases. This is all about. Next slide, please.
Yes, thank you, Yazid. So we will be back to you, but now we will have topic number 8 presented by Emmanuel.
Thanks, Iwa. Hi, everyone. I'm Emmanuel Albert from Alcatel-Lucent Enterprise, and we titled this topic 8, Connect Your App and Service to XR Engine. Here, the rationale of this topic is the following. We wondered, what if we enable integration between CORTEX2 platform and other applications which are not naturally related to XR, such as project management, task management, agenda, etc. What we had in mind here is the following benefit. First, to bring existing vertical features from these applications to the XR platform, and at the opposite, to bring XR features to these applications. And in addition, we also target in this topic how we could enrich the platform with new sources of video streams, just as the one which would be issued by drones, and that would make XR application more versatile and efficient. So next slide, please. Regarding the outcomes and KPIs, we identify 3 different KPIs. The first one is really about how to measure the benefits of this kind of integration of such services in CORTEX2 framework. In some cases, it makes completely sense to have XR features in these applications. In other cases, it's just not relevant. The second KPI, which tends to consolidate the first one, is to have a real assessment from end users. And we want to have at least 10 users involved in the test of the prototype to give their comments about the added value brought by XR here. And lastly, the third KPI is about techno-stress, and we really think that it's important to measure the impact of XR in this kind of application regarding techno-stress. Next slide, please. 3 steps as for the other topics. In the first sprint, the applicant shall deliver a very high-level architecture of the solution. And we also want to have here some kind of internal KPI specific to the solutions, which will be assessed by the end user in the third step. In the second step, this is about developing and prototyping first MVP as a demo of the solution. And the third step shall deliver a running product at a higher TRL level, meaning in a real environment. And it's very important, in addition to the full running solution, to provide an assessment by the users of the delivered solution in link with KPI 2. And in addition to this will be done in addition to KPI assessment. And we also expect a video presenting the solution in a standard scenario, and this is for communication purposes. And next slide, yes. So to conclude in a nutshell, I think there are 3 different approaches here in this topic. The first one is about including or importing the characteristic of the considered application into CORTEX2 framework, basically with development of graphical representation of the features of this application. The second approach is the opposite, is how to leverage and value these new graphical representation within CORTEX2 framework by delivering primitives to use these new objects. And the third approach is mixing both and drafting very appealing user experience when mixing these primitives with the new CORTEX2 platform capabilities. And I think that's all. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel. So we're gonna be now moving with the last 2 topics, topic 9 and topic 10, that will be presented by Yazid, and then right after we will jump to the section for the use cases track. So definitely stay tuned with us. Yazid, now you can take over from here.
Thank you, Eva. I'm Yazid again. So this topic is about authoring tools for VR environment. What we need here is to help people using and developing using Cortex framework and developing Cortex applications. And the Cortex application, as we defined it in the project, till only one domain, which is telecooperation or collaborative work. So we have a restricted domain on that, and what we are thinking about is it possible to have some definition of this application, and which then can be used to generate at least 30% of the application code. So what we mean here, so we have some concepts, so some definition of the interface of the application, Cortex application, which can be shared among participants or in multi-view. It means that different participants can have different view, and then all the concepts can be defined in some markup language, and then we can use this language to generate the interface. Let's say just 30% of the code, which can then help the developers to extend it and then to build their Cortex applications. And for that, we have defined the 3 KPIs, which is the quality, genericity, and the performance, where the first one is the level reached by automated generation. The automated generation can, I'm saying before 30%, but you can go more, 50%, or you can go till 90 or 100%. And then for genericity, it depends if this generation of the application will be related to WebXR framework or Unity. It depends. So if you are using WebXR or Unity or both, and how you can we can use your generated code. For the performance here, we will measure the time saved during the application development, because if we use your solution for as a auto-routing tool to build a Cortex application, we can save time, and then this measure can be KPI for us to evaluate your solution. Yeah. And for this, we have 3 deliverables, as well as for the rest of the topics. And the first one, it's for you to understand what the Cortex application is, then define the minimal concepts and functionality that you will cover in your development. And then you have to define the structure, the common structure for the Cortex application, which can be used then to generate the template code that can be used by the developers. And so the second deliverable is the code generation. So all what you have developed. And then the last one is the testing. We have to test if the code generated can allow to build the Cortex applications. Then we have another topic, which is more or less related to the previous one, which is maintaining interface engagement and usability for Cortex framework. And for this topic, the goal is we have one question: how we can keep developers around Cortex framework, how we can keep these developers using and using Cortex, developing application using Cortex framework. And for this, the response that we have is to develop new features, a new functionality for the interface that developers can find them interesting. For example, head tracking in the XR environment, or eye tracking, and so on. We are thinking also on one example that you can take it into account. For example, virtual user. What we mean by virtual user, if one participant cannot attend the conference, so he can delegate this task to a virtual user, which can have some restriction and can participate in the conference as a real user. Yeah. And for this topic, we defined also some KPIs for the innovation. So what is this new feature, and if this new feature is helpful for the Cortex applications, and the integration, how we can easily integrate this feature with XR or Unity. And in terms of performance, we should not develop something which is very complex, so we can take a lot of computer resources, memory, and so on, and bandwidth, and then it will be impossible to use it in real applications. Yeah, and so we are here in the last slide, which is the deliverables that you have to prepare. The first one is the definition of the XR features that you will develop, and you have to argument about the helpfulness of these features, and then the implementation code in the second deliverable, and then the last one, the detailed integration process. Yeah, that's a lot. I think it's the last slide.
Indeed, Yazid, that was the end of all the topics from the first section. I hear some, okay, perfect. So we will now smoothly move to the section number 2 for the use cases track, and Alan will be taking over and present of the domains.
Yes, thank you, Eva. So the use case track, it's a little bit different from the first one. Here to give you a little bit of background information. So as CORTEX2 is an EU project, we are developing technological components, and we are developing a system. And also within the project, we already have 3 use cases because, of course, we want to evaluate the technological development. And the 3 use cases we have is an industrial context with remote support in AR. This is the first one. We have training using VR. This is the second one. And we have virtual business meetings using VR. Now, why we are seeking for additional use cases, actually, we want to check how generic the platform is and how many different use cases we can address. And we want to evaluate the platform with additional use cases. So the reason why we have these topics or this track, so to say, is to have additional evaluation. If you want to apply for this one, we need to have at least one technology adopter, which means we need a domain expert. We need to have someone that works in the domain of the use case. It's possible also to apply as a mini consortium of 2 partners, and the second one would be then a technology developer in case you need a specific technology that is not already available in the Cortex framework and you want to develop it for your use case. And it will have a duration of 12 months in 3 phases, and we have prepared 8 domains that you can choose from, so I will present them in a second. If you don't find your domain in the 8 domains, you can also apply in an additional category that we call open domain. So don't worry if you don't find exactly the domain that you want. It's more as kind of hints of what you could apply for, but there is an open one. So let's start now with the different domains. So the first one is education. Here, maybe as a generic comment, I've given some information in bullet points. For us, it's more examples. You don't need to stick exactly to these comments. It's to give you examples of things that we would like to see. But again, even within education, you might think about another slightly different use case, and this is also welcome. So for education, we think that using XR generally for education is a good thing because you can have interactive sessions for cooperation. There is also a possibility of looking at the language barrier with automatic translation, for example. What is also interesting is maybe to do the possibility to do experiments like in physics, or you can do it without any risk because it's all virtual. Also, the personalization of education might be interesting, and also visualization of complex models in an interactive way could be of interest. So this is more the education topic. Let's move to the second domain, business. So this covers all the business aspects. Here you see a picture that represents more or less a business meeting with avatars and a mix of virtual and physical presence. This is more or less already addressed in the business meeting use case that we have within the consortium, but you can also extend it. So, for example, for enhancing the business collaboration, facilitate participation to meetings, or supporting training. Here also, it's important, maybe an aspect to address possibly the language barrier. And also another way of thinking about the topic business is collaborative product design. So meetings where your different participants have to speak about the product, about different assets, which can be represented in VR. Let's move to the third one, industry. This is always a very interesting topic also for AR, VR. Here you can imagine all kinds of remote support, extended reality for workers in the industry. Keeping in mind that the focus of Cortex is also remote collaboration. So the use cases that you develop should not be only on site, but should also involve some kind of cooperation with partners that are not on the site. So it has to have some collaborative work. And industry can have many different subdomains, so you can choose from any. So typical ones are manufacturing, construction, automotive, but we see also agriculture as one possible industrial domain. Thank you. Domain 4, healthcare. This is something we do not tackle at all currently in the 3 use cases, but it's very interesting because I think that the world of health could benefit a lot from XR and VR AR. Here you see a robot with a VR headset as an illustration, but you can develop things such as a remote consultation. This involves, of course, cooperation. Remote support for medical personnel, all what has to do with simulation and training for doctors, for surgeons could be of interest. Remote diagnosis, so having remote doctors for patients through this system could be nice. And also the monitoring of health, not only the diagnosis of a disease, but constant monitoring of your health states could be also of interest. Now we move to the topic, the domain 5, emergency and crisis. I have to tell you that the images here have been generated by AI, so it's not necessarily exactly what we expect, but it's more for illustrating. So here we want to showcase the domain of emergency. So mainly the first responders. When you have a crisis, an emergency case, the professionals that have to come on the site, like firefighters, policemen, and so on, they might need support. And here we consider that we could also use CORTEX2 XR, the platform for remote support of these people. So it could be a platform for the management of the emergency case. It could be augmenting the real environment of people when they come on site, so to help them finding their way, for example. The remote support and also a collaborative system for finding solutions in case of crisis. This is all the types of ideas we have in this domain. Moving to the number 6, entertainment and culture. So I think this is also a very important topic for XR in general, and especially if you consider collaborative work. And here, to be more precise, we were thinking about live artistic performances. So it could be interesting to see how you can do performances, or how artists could do performances while being on different locations, or the public is in one location and the artist is in another location, or any performance that involves a hybrid mode between physical persons and holograms that could be of interest. Also, under this cultural idea, the participation of the audience is something that could be experimented, which is typically not the case currently in classical arts performance. Museums are of large interest, so organizing remote visit to real museums could be interesting. Of course, all what has to do with virtual exhibitions. And this was more the cultural aspect, but of course, games is also a big topic. So any kind of collaborative AR or VR game using the CORTEX2 XR platform would also be of interest for us. Now the domain 7, smart cities. This is also a topic where XR could be used. For example, for city planning, modeling new buildings, but also planning new areas. It could be used for citizen participation, and especially for showcasing possible modifications to citizens. Or of course, also the green transition is a topic here where we could apply AR, XR, and collaboration to show how cities can be transformed. And also under smart cities, we have all the management of traffic, how to ease the transport flow by providing more information to the transport users. So all of these topics grouped together under smart cities are also of interest. And then I think this is the last one, but it's actually not the least, accessibility and social inclusion. What is very important for all these new type of technologies, we would like to leave no one behind. So we need to have use cases that show that our system is inclusive. So we want to break the barriers for accessibility for people with different special needs or disabilities. Here you can develop solutions where collaboration could actually help people with special needs. One example is a remote participation to physical events for people that cannot go on site. This could be also interesting. But also we want to include people with different backgrounds. So this is more the social inclusion. And there is one interesting aspect for us is that we don't want to create a new digital divide by allowing these systems only for people that have access. So we need to make things also simple. So if you don't have a headset, if you don't have special gloves, you can also just join with a smartphone, with a webcam, with a very limited digital set of assets. And this is also something we would like to explore. So if you have an idea for this one, you are also welcome to submit. So I think I covered all the 8 topics. Again, there is a 9th one, which is the open topic or open domain, if you would like to have to come with another domain. Now, common to all the domains, we have set as a number of KPIs to evaluate actually the project at the end. So first one is the deployment. Of course, it has to be successfully deployed in the domain. So we want to see that working on a number of examples. The second one is that within your use case, we want to see use case scenarios. So we want to see actually a sequence of actions that are being done and solved using the CORTEX2 framework. So we want you to support at least 3 different scenarios. Now the third one is very important for us. We want actually the domain, the use case actually to implement a proper user study. So we have set a minimum of at least 10 users to start to have meaningful feedback on the usage. So if possible, it would be better to have more than 20 users to be really able to conduct experiments, collect feedback, and document it. So, and we also want from the applicants to provide then at the end of the project the documentation. Ideally, we would like to be able to publish papers about the results and the learned lessons on each different use case. The number 4 is that it's mandatory. I mean, you need to use CORTEX2. It's kind of obvious, but you need to prove that it was using the services of CORTEX2. So at least one service should be used, but probably more than just one. And you need to show how the use of CORTEX2 improved the efficiency. So here, of course, it's dependent on your very specific topic, but typically we want to see that implementing this solution will have an impact on the efficiency or on reducing the costs, or if it's business, increase of the customer satisfaction, or on any type of improvement of an outcome. This needs to be measured and documented. As for the track 1, we also will offer support from the CORTEX2 consortium. So what you will get to implement your use case is access to the CORTEX2 architecture. So it's based on Rainbow, and it has the extensions of CORTEX2. You will have access to the platform. So there is a hosting in the cloud for different assets, and there is an open API for implementing supplementary modules. The modules that are developed within the consortium, but also the services from the track 1 that will be available when you need them will be usable by you in the use case. So this is what you will get. There will be a technical contact. So one of the partners of the consortium will push and follow your development during the project. And you will have help in integrating and validating. So specifically for integrating into CORTEX2, but also to conduct the user study. We have also experts in the group. And we also need the use case to be disseminated. But here again, you will get help of partners in the consortium to help you disseminate the activities and the results of the use case. We have foreseen, this is common for all the domains, different deliverables. So this will be in 3 phases. So we'll start by a deliverable about the specifications and your plan for implementing the use case. What we call number 2 performance report is a report on the effort and the work you have been done in the first phase. Then the deliverable D3 in the middle of the deployment would be a first proof of concept that we call minimum viable product. And again, a report on the performance. And at the end of the 12 months, a proper evaluation, as I said, with a panel of users. We also would like to have a video that demonstrates clearly the use case and an exploitation plan for exploiting the results or the solution in that specific use case after the project.
Yeah, Alan, I believe that was indeed the last slide for the use case track. Thank you so much for presenting. Thank you to all speakers. We will open now the Q&A session. I can see there are at least 15 questions waiting for the answer. So Ellie, if you can take over and lead the Q&A session now, Bill.
Thank you, Eva. With pleasure. I see that some of the speakers have started responding to the questions already typing, so that's great. I'm starting from the first question. We are interested in co-development for topic 6, 3D objects library. In addition, is it only about the creation of the objects or also the programming of the integration into the framework? And B, for the proposal template 2.4, I assume it's 2.1, visual description. Is it already about blockouts? What information is expected? And is there a place in the form where we can add references? I think Sylvain can start answering this and probably me and Eva can follow up on that.
Yeah, thank you, Ellie. For the item A, about creation of the objects, of course, it would be better if you not only provide a 3D object library, but we also expect you that you are providing a demonstration on how to use them. Being able to dynamically instantiate and use those objects within the Unity scene will be a plus. But also, for instance, while talking about IoT visualizations, we need to implement an IoT 3D object associated to IoT, for instance, to show the temperature. Now, sometime we will need to have the real-time value of the temperature, but in another configuration, we would like to have the historical report of the temperature variation during the last hour or during the day. So that will be very good to have this type of objects that can be identified according to the data that we are associated to them. For the item B, it's related to how to put in the templates a response, visual descriptions. Let's say we expect that you provide a sample of design you are able to do. Of course, we do not ask you to develop all the object library for the response, but for you to show what are your capabilities and what is your view about what could be global object library, including scenes for lobby, virtual rooms, and for objects. And for the item C, I will let Eva elaborate, but I think you are not allowed to provide URL references. So you know, you can, let's say, you can present that in plain text, but let's say, Eva, can you?
Yes, of course. Yeah, so indeed, there is no really specific place, but feel free to use footnotes. And we really suggest that in order to save the space, for the content, feel free to use it, font size maximum 10. So that could be the solution for applicants that, want to use references. Just follow the footnotes.
Okay, thank you, Eva. And Sylvain. Now the next question, topic 10, KPI. So this is for Yazid. I see that Yazid is typing an answer, but probably he can also answer live. So the question is topic 10 KPI, is this feature new and helpful? How are you planning to measure the successful completion of this KPI?
This is a good question. Yeah, we are thinking to compare regarding the state of the art in XR technologies. So we will take this into account depending on what existing state of the art and also in gaming technologies. And we are thinking also about some features and testing features that like ellipse synchronization with the it means that the avatar lips are synchronized with the user using the headset. Some features like that will be interesting for the Cortex. Thank you.
Thank you, Yazid. Next question. I think it's an overall question. It's not connected to a certain topic. Is it possible to use the photo engine in the project? Photon engine in the project? So I'm not sure, for example, Alan.
Yeah, I think the person is referring to the Photon engine that is used in Unity for the networking part. My answer will be twofold. Actually, for all what has to do with the networking communication in the CORTEX2 framework, we are using as a backbone the Rainbow solution from Alcatel. So this is a preferred way of transferring data from each client to the other one. For multiplayer things in Unity, we are currently using Mirror. So this is another way of doing it. Now, if you would like to come with the Photon engine and show an example that uses it, it's possible to do so. It's possible to present a project that will use that. The only limitation is that you should also use CORTEX2 because if the application is not at all using the backbone that we suggest in CORTEX2, then it's not a topic that we will select. I don't know if this answers the question, but
thank you, Alan. If not, there can be a follow-up question afterwards. Okay, next question. Regarding open source requirement, according to the open call, the co-development components have to be open source. Does this also hold for the use case applications? Also, is the already developed CORTEX2 platform open source? I think, Alan.
Yeah, I will start by the last question. The CORTEX2 platform is not open source, but it will be open to the applicants to use. So at least for the selected applicants, you will have access to the CORTEX2 platform. I'm not sure exactly in which terms it's provided in the open call that the code dev developments have to be open source. I'm not sure this is totally exact because I think it does not have to be open source because it's clear that if you are a company, you can also provide modules that are still in your intellectual property and that you are able to license or to commercialize after the project. So for the use case, it's the same. It does not have to be open source. And to answer the last, you can use what has been done in CORTEX2, which will be provided to you, but not open source for the rest of the world yet.
Thank you. Next question. For the use case, can we select more than one domains we are applying for instance, education and smart cities and industry? I can answer this one. So the answer is no. You need to apply for only one domain, or if you're applying for the co-development, you can apply only for one topic. Okay, next question. In use case solutions, can we apply it as an immersive tech body working in collaboration with one or multiple domain experts and developing the scenarios to test the requirements and reach a strong data analysis of use case? So I think I can start and then I think Alan can follow up if I miss something. But basically, Within a consortia for both tracks, you can apply either as a single entity or a maximum of 2 entities. So in this sense, you can be working in a consortia with one organization in addition to yours. In any case, as external experts, of course, you can get any additional contribution. I'm not sure whether I'm answering the question fully. Alan, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I think the limitation is that for one application, we can finance only 2 entities. Of course, if you have additional domain experts and you can test your solution without having them as finance participant, then of course, yes, you can have more than one. But the limitation we have is that the projects can finance only 2 entities.
Okay, thank you. Then next question. Regarding the question, describe how research data will be managed in the proposal template. What data are we talking about here? Is it about managing the data regarding GDPR? Okay,
I think the short answer is yes. It's the data management of any data that is produced or used or analyzed or processed needs to be GDPR compliant. So there is a need of a data management procedure that is compliant with GDPR.
Thank you. Next question. For our use case and for TRL 6 or TRL 7 at the final months of the project, we might be able to have some other research groups in our organization which are very eager to use or test CORTEX2 XR services, and they could test it. They do not want to be funded for this call and will not be included in the expenses. Is this fine? Can we include this in the proposal? I think it's a yes, but yes, if Alan and Eva can confirm.
Yeah, it's a yes, because from the point of view of the project, if you want to try it out without being funded, perfect. We are very happy to let you try it. Because again, the limitation is that we can finance for use case only 2 entities. Now, including this in the proposal, I don't think that it will bring you additional points. It's not. It's better that you spend the pages explaining how you will implement and test this use case. I believe.
Thank you. Next question, again for the use cases. Can we combine domains, accessibility and inclusion education? As mentioned, no, you have to apply for one domain or in co-development for one topic.
Yeah,
Okay.
can I just add something?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a technical limitation that when you apply for it, you have to select a domain. So you need to choose which one is your major one, but it does not prevent you to do it also slightly on another topic. So typically, if you say education for children with special educational needs, then choose education as the major one, then you explain that is also for special needs. It's just that technically you can only choose one, so you need to decide which one is the major.
Exactly. Yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Alan. Then next one. We're a technology provider development team, but we are also really interested in use cases, domain education, healthcare industry, as we have expertise in these areas. How can we connect with European technology adopters for that? Is there a matchmaking process? Eva, can you take this?
Yes, of course. Well, since it is not mandatory in this open call to have, a second entity or second partner in order to apply, we have optional matchmaking service that we created voluntarily on the F6S page. So what we always advise you is to post there a question on the discussion board that you are really interested, what are your expertise that you can offer and who you are looking for. And if you are referring specifically to the use case, of course, you will need to post it on the application page for the use case. There are several posts there. There is certain community there. This is the maximum what we can really support you at this point. Yeah. and that's the support that we can provide. So if you don't know exactly where is that link, you can contact. This is basically the application link, and you are changing, the bookmark to go to the discussion board. But if you have any issues with that, just contact us on the email that you can find on the website, and then I will be happy to really support you on this.
Thank you. Next question. In the application for identifying the technical components framework to be used, should we be specific and list the parts that we will use from Cortex client components, core components, and Cortex services? So, Alan?
Yes, if you can be specific, yes, try to spot the one you would like to use and explain us how you want to use it. Yes, there is the documentation of the architecture, so if you can identify the layer and the module, it would be better. Yes.
Thank you. Next one. Is it possible that a research organization like University Lab participate in the co-development track? So the answer for the co-development track is no. There we're looking for SMEs, but for the use case, this is possible. Eva, do you want to add something here?
No, in the general, we were searching for the technology developer, technology provider, with the specific, that was the specific profile, and indeed, Ali, I have nothing more really to add to your answer.
Okay. Following use cases. Can consortium comprise more than 2 members? Can we have universities as a member in the consortia? So as we mentioned, consortiums can be comprised from a maximum of 2 entities. Universities are eligible within the use case track. And as Alan mentioned, if you want to work with additional parties who are not going to receive funding through the open course, this is of course possible. Okay, next question.
Ali, just to
I would
clarify,
like-
to make
Yes.
sure that we clearly answered, the answer was clear. So the answer to the whole question is, the first part is no, there cannot be more than 2 members. And then for the university, yes, just to be for sure on the safe side.
Yes. Thank you. Then next one. I would like to ask a not so technical question. Is it possible for a research center to participate along with an SME to a co-development proposal? So the answer is no. For the co-development proposal, we're looking for SMEs. The research one can apply under the use case track. Okay, next one. In track 1, topic 8, will Cortex project provide the users? I think topic 8 was Yazid, if I remember correctly.
No, it was me, but
I'm sorry.
I don't know if I can answer the question because we did not discuss this internally. Alain or Iwa, do you have any ideas about this?
That would really depends on the requirements, and if if the guidelines for applicants in the description, there is not really mentioned that the users will be available in the, let's say, CORTEX2 support. That means that this is the expectation that is coming, of course, from the applicants. There is 9 months, a specific period timeline. For this, I don't know if the topic has specifically some minimum requirements on the number of users. If that is not existing, then applicant, is open and free to identify what number of the users would be accurate. But it's not, if it's not stated in the guidelines, that means that the users must come from the applicant side.
Yes, and it's the same thing for the use case track. It is expected that the applicants are the ones who are going to identify the users, and they will be testing the solution with them. Okay, next question. Should we use only the templates applied, or can we keep only the structure and adapt it to our graphic charter? So you absolutely need to abide by the template. I'm not sure what specifically you want to add. If there is something very specific, you can have a follow-up question or come to us through the open call email. but in general, you need to abide by the template and follow the structure. Okay, next question, topic 6. So references should rather be text in footnotes than 1 or 2 images.
I'm not so sure.
Sylvain?
You
Oh, sorry. No, Eva, you can take this.
No, maybe maybe we have different understanding on the references. Well, I understood, I assumed from the previous question that simply it comes to, scientific publication references or any references to the text, the quotes or whatever that's going to be referred in the text. In that sense, the footnotes apply. Sylvan, maybe there is, you have some other feedback specifically coming to the images.
I think it was also related to the first question we had related to the topic 6. So if the applicant wants to provide some references of or images about the work they are capable of providing us, do they have to include some images within the application forms? Or because I understood that they are not allowed to use URL to have a redirection, for instance, to another site where you will find some display samples. So
Yes, that's correct, because the evaluators, external evaluators, will evaluate only the 10 pages from the template. That is why we have one page there to really create and include certain visual characteristic or images that can support or facilitate understanding or boost the application for the external evaluators. I can rephrase that in case someone is really including images and requires references to the images, so simply it can be posted under the picture source or link, but it shouldn't be really active. There should not be expectation from the applicants that external evaluators will be clicking on any what is hyperlink in the proposal, because that's not gonna be the case. So just to really clarify this, yeah.
Thank you. And I think this is we're having one more final question, which is, do you allow to socialize the use case idea for applicability validation with the Cortex core team in advance of the submission date? So the short answer is no, because we cannot provide any additional information that is not provided as well to any other applicant. So in order for us to be transparent, we do the webinar, so you can have all your questions here. You can check the guidelines, and of course you can ask us via email. But again, the responses that we are providing via the email should be transparent and should be valid for all applicants. So in a nutshell, we cannot have one-to-one calls with applicants. Eva, do you want to add something?
No, Ellie, you covered very well, and I believe that was the last. Oh no, there are more.
That was. Yeah, one more came. Yep, sorry. I came late for the event. I have 2 questions. We are a chat fintech platform, and we would love to use Cortex for virtual meeting. Are we to apply as an SME, I think should be here, or developer? I'm not sure.
Well, if we understood the question correct, in our guidelines for applicants, SME is identified as the technology provider, technology developer. So that's for, of course, SME is eligible to apply, in fact, for both of the tracks. I'm not so sure for the use case. Yeah, we'll have use Cortex.
Yes.
Actually, yeah. So the short answer is yes, but in case we haven't understood clearly, then we wait for a quick follow-up on this question.
Yes.
Okay.
And that's it.
And that's it. And we are absolutely perfect on time. So 4 minutes before the end of the webinar. I see no more questions are coming. So I would like to thank everyone for participation, the speakers, and all the attendees that stayed with us. In case that was your first webinar that you have attended, please feel free to check the other 2 webinars and the more administrative information regarding the eligibility criteria, who can apply, what, when, what is exactly expected. That will definitely support you to understand. And we wish you good luck. Please remember the deadline for applying is 16th of January until 5 o'clock Central European time. The platform is gonna close, so you have still some time to work on the application. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, we still will be happy to support you. And I would say that's it from my side. This webinar will be again published on the website, so stay tuned. And Alan, any final words?
Well, good luck to everyone. We are eager to see your applications and write well your proposal.
Perfect. Okay, thank you. We are closing the webinar.
Thanks, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.